Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Exodus. We are in Exodus chapter 20, and we've been looking at the 10 commandments. Now, in our last session, we began the second division, which begins, of course, with command number 5, honor your father and your mother. Now, we've noticed that the second division of the commands all deal with our relationship with one another. And the foundation of that is the family. Today I want to look at the next 3 commands, commands 6, 7, and 8. They are all stated very simply, very concisely, but they're all very profound and to the point. We find commandments 6, 7, and 8 in verses 13, 14, and 15 of chapter 20. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. Now, these commandments are very clear to us. It doesn't take much time to understand them. They're so crystal clear. The protection of life, the protection of marriage, and the protection of property or possessions. You shall not murder. Life is sacred, and God says it must be protected. Now, this goes back to the creation story itself. That life was made by God. He formed Adam and Eve in the garden, and He breathed life into them. God is the giver of life, and thus only God has the right to take that life. Human life is sacred because it's made by God, made in His image. And therefore God says you must view the sacredness of life because it's made in my image, and you must protect it. You do not have the right to take life. You don't have the right to murder. And so that protection of life is so sacredly important. God absolutely demands that we protect human life. Obviously, we know that murder is wrong, but also to devalue human life, to demean people, to debase folks, to dehumanize, all of this is involved in the command. You know, in the New Testament, Jesus expands the meaning and says, yes, you shall not murder, but also rage and hostility and anger toward others that is unprovoked is wrong. So life must be protected, must not be debased or dehumanized or devalued. You shall not murder still holds, obviously, today. Protect human life, but also protect marriage. The first institution God ordained for humanity was marriage. He made Adam, He made Eve, and the two became one. And so marriage is sacred in the eyes of God and must be protected. And so the command about adultery is do not destroy marriage, do not debase it, do not devalue it. Put a hedge of protection around it, for it is ordained by God for the foundation of the family. So in that sense, it's connected with commandment number 5. But also for the preservation of society, marriage is so important. And so as the people of God, we are to protect marriage and not to devalue it or to adulterate it with other relationships and other causes and other objects. We are simply to be committed husbands to their wives, wives to their husbands, the protection of marriage. And then the protection of property, you shall not steal. All that is has been made by God, and He gives into our hands good gifts. Sometimes those gifts comes in the forms of things or possessions, and we are to value them as gifts of God and to protect them. We do not have the right to take unlawfully from someone else what God has given them. Theft is to take from someone what you don't have a right to obtain it by unethical or unlawful means. And so God says property must be protected. And so these commands, we have the protection of life, the protection of marriage, the protection of property. For all of these things come from God, and thus they're to be valued. And so the preservation of society is based in our protecting them. So today we hear commandments 6, 7, and 8. You shall not murder. Human life shall be protected. You shall not commit adultery. Marriage shall be valued and preserved. You shall not steal. You don't take that which belongs to someone else. For what you have is a gift of God. What they have is a gift of God. Don't take what rightfully belongs to someone else. You have a great day today, and I'll see you next time as we continue our study in the book of the Exodus in the Ten Commandments.